Hey, ladies. Welcome to the Saturday night edition of Black Women Making Money. Welcome, everybody. We have a lot to go over today because I saw an article in CNBC talking about the fact that the richest 1% of people ended up with an additional 67% of wealth over the past 2 years. And I wanted to share that with you, as well as what happened in Davos 2023. If you don't know what that is, Davos is a place where the super wealthy go, and heads of state and celebrities and people like that, in order to talk about what's happening in the world economically and politically. And, they had their meeting. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about these tech titans who want more babies. So that is the show for the evening. Everybody, as you are coming in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up for us. And let's start off with the conversation here with regards to the richest 1%. So there was a story here again in CNBC, came out a couple of weeks ago, last week, I think it is, that the richest 1% of people amassed almost two-thirds of new wealth created in the last 2 years. So let's see what they are talking about here. Oh, before we go on, the richest 1%, I did the research, they have a net worth of $11 million. That's your richest 1%, net worth of $11 million plus. Okay, so it says here, over the last 2 years, the richest 1% of people have accumulated close to two-thirds of all new wealth created around the world. This is according to a new report from Oxfam. A total of $42 trillion in new wealth has been created since 2020, with 26 trillion or 63% of that being amassed by the top 1% of the ultra rich. The remaining 99% of the global population collected just $16 trillion of new wealth, the Global Poverty Charity says. A billionaire gained roughly $1.7 million for every $1 of new global wealth earned by a person in the bottom 90%. So a billionaire gets $1.7 million for every $1 of wealth that I got. Little old Cherie. Okay, so there's a lot of money floating around here. It suggests that the pace at which wealth is being created has sped up as the world's richest 1% amassed around half of all new wealth over the past 10 years. I think a lot of us are not surprised by this. We kind of know that the rich are getting richer. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why the rich are getting richer and some of the things that we are able to do as regular people in order to even the playing field as upwardly mobile Black women. Hey, Computer and Coin. Hello, everybody. Don't forget to thumbs up as you are coming in. And tonight, I'm not giving any investment advice, but we are going to talk about some of the investments that the rich are doing and how we can apply it to our lives as well. So thumbs up, everybody. Okay, so it says here the research contrasts this wealth creation with reports from the World Bank, which said in October 2022 that it would likely not meet its goal of ending extreme poverty by 2030 as the COVID-19 pandemic slowed down efforts to combat poverty. First of all, I don't think they were ever going to get rid of extreme poverty. I think that extreme poverty is a business model for certain industries in the United States, certain industries around the globe. So we are actually seeing the widening of the gap between the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots. And the foundation of that is access and education, which is why we as Black women, we did our topic yesterday about should you get into tech? Yes, if you are in a dead-end career, getting into tech, getting into medicine, getting into something that can help you combat poverty in your own home. This is why on this channel we do talk about marrying down, because that is a way for you to combat poverty. We're going to have a conversation. I want to invite a guest for this, have someone specific in mind to talk about having children before you're ready to have children financially. You know, all the things that we can do within our households to combat poverty is going to be essential. But the World Bank trying to get rid of extreme poverty, I think it's a noble idea. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's continue the article. In the report's press release, she also said changes to taxation policies would help tackle ongoing crises around the world. Taxing the super rich and big corporations is the door out of today's overlapping crises. It's time we demolish the convenient myth that tax cuts for the richest result in wealth somehow trickling down to everyone else. So, again, nice idea, probably not going to happen. Instead, the rich are talking a lot about giving away their money to charitable organizations. You have seen, for example, Black Girls Code get a lot of money. I think that there are a lot of organizations that we can align ourselves with in order to take advantage of the education and the opportunities that they have for us to level the playing field. But I think that this is the way that the super rich are going to divide up their own money instead of trusting governments with it and the tax cuts and all of that. I don't think that's going to happen. So um, let's see here. That is all for this article. So the rich met last week in a place called Switzerland, sorry, a place in Switzerland called Davos. And they have something every year called the World Economic Forum. This is where CEOs, billionaires, executives, and government officials go. It's in Switzerland. It looks really cool. It's kind of on my bucket list of places that I'd like to go just to see what they do on the inside of the palace. But there was an article in Business Insider talking about the four biggest takeaways from the World Economic Forum. So let's take a look at some of the things that they said here. So there were more than 1,500 business leaders that descended on Davos in the Swiss Alps for the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. It happens every January. One of the most often asked questions was, what are the themes you're picking up on? With that in mind, we put our notes together to define four themes that came up over and over again. These don't capture everything, of course, but they should give you insight into what's on the mind of the business elite. So let's see what they are talking about. The first thing, they're saying there's going to be a recession, but it's not going to be a big deal. This is what they think. Several of the executives we spoke with from places like New York, Shanghai, Munich, London, and Zurich said the economic picture has lightened in the recent weeks. In particular, some pointed to China's reopening as a positive development for the global economy. Why do people care about China? Number one, it is the world's biggest marketplace. Number two is that they also supply the world with so many products. They manufacture so much. Part of the issue with us during the pandemic having supply shortages was because China locked down. Now, there are a lot of conspiracy theories online as to why China locked down and why China was continuing to lock down, but they've opened themselves up, and people are pretty happy about that in the elite. They're also saying here in the US, meanwhile, there are signs that inflation is slowing, even as the job market continues to strengthen. US jobless claims came in at 190,000, which was fewer than expected. As one major bank CEO noted, that's before any real spending from the Inflation Reduction Act or the Infrastructure Investment Act and Jobs Act kicked in. And Russia's invasion of Ukraine has driven a boom in defense manufacturing, with firms replacing weaponry that has been shipped to the Ukraine. Ladies, I don't care what anybody says about war. One thing that war is profitable for these defense contractors. And in exchange for that, you're seeing a lot of money going in to the Ukraine, which then is being funneled all over the world. Yeah, we as American taxpayers are going to have to pay for that, but this is the way that it is right now. But people are basically saying, the elite are saying, the economists are saying that the recession should not be as bad as everybody was thinking. That doesn't mean that we don't hold our coins, we keep it together, we keep it cute, but hold on to what you've got with regards to saving as much money as you possibly can, pay off that debt. The interest rates are probably not going to go down anytime soon. Lastly, they're saying about this topic, a warmer than expected winter in Europe has taken some of the pressure off of energy supplies there. So that's the reason why they're thinking that the recession is not going to kick in as bad. This person from KPMG is saying, my personal view is I think that if we have a recession in the US, there's a really good chance that it could be short, very short and shallow. So this is what they've been saying. Let's read the second thing. The second thing that they took away was that AI will change everything. So they're saying here you didn't get very far into any discussion in Davos without the topic of artificial intelligence and Chat GPT coming through. The interesting thing about Chat GPT, I was listening to a YouTube live stream this morning with two gentlemen, and they were both Black gentlemen, and they were talking about the fact that, we really live in a bubble. How many of you have asked people that you know about ChatGPT if they know what it is? Because these two men were saying that they went to their barber shop and they went to a family function and they were talking about ChatGPT and nobody knew what it was. Hey, anti-ableism, good to see you, my girl. Everybody like the videos. You're coming in. Please like. Okay, so last I heard, there was about 10 million people using ChatGPT. That is a small amount. We are so early with this thing, and practically the world doesn't know what ChatGPT is. They also are not paying attention to the fact that robotics and AI are coming for their jobs. So, these elites over in Davos are really focusing on how they're able to use this AI in order to pull people out of redundant tasks, in order to increase efficiency, in order to get rid of the unproductive. So, just recognize that as we're talking about these things, and it's really sad because I think that the majority of Black people should be talking about these things. And not just crypto when Bitcoin was going up, but like all of the things happening within AI and robotics and technology, cybersecurity, things like that. But, we aren't. But the rich were. So they're saying here, I have never seen this much excitement about anything in my life. This is Omar bin Sultan Al Oloma, who is the United Arab Emirates Minister of the State of AI, Digital Economy, and Remote Work Applications. While Microsoft basked in the glow of ChatGPT's hype, some of its rivals were left gritting their teeth and warning of risk. If anybody doesn't know, Microsoft was one of the early investors in ChatGPT. They have offered to put another $10 billion into ChatGPT, so they're probably going to be owning it, and they're going to be leveraging it for Bing, which is their search engine that has been struggling for years. They Microsoft also owns LinkedIn, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of link between ChatGPT and LinkedIn, as well as Microsoft owning a lot of other different properties that are out there as well. Yes, ladies, smash that like button and subscribe. Yes. Okay, so Alphabet is Google. Which has been a long leader in AI, has found itself on the back foot. Here's my thought about Google. Google's going to buy a company to rival ChatGPT. They're going to have to. There's probably one that's out there. Next thing they're saying here is it wasn't just tech giants warning of the risk, with executives discussing everything from mass produced misinformation to significant impacts on the labor market. So this is their concern. They've been talking about concerns with regards to AI and ChatGPT. They're saying here, one exec said they'd heard a CEO of Davos say ChatGPT would replace a huge swath of his customer service workforce within a few years. For example, Shelley Stewart III, a senior partner at McKinsey, said there would be a much greater need for occupational switching and retraining as some jobs changed or were eliminated by the advent of AI. So the rich in Davos, the rich are skiing in Switzerland, they're drinking their cognac, they're smoking their cigars, and they're asking, how many people can we get rid of? And basically, if you cannot learn and retrain some sort of way, you are going to get your ass kicked and handed to you. That's basically what they're saying. One of the things that is so important for our young people to learn is how to learn. So, if you are a parent, if you're a mother, if you have children, I cannot implore you enough to teach your kids how to read for comprehension, how to write with clarity, how to problem solve, how to learn new things. Because if they cannot learn properly, if they cannot be retrained properly, because these job switches are going to come faster and faster. If they cannot do those things, they are going to lose out. And we as women are going to lose out as well. We're going to have to be nimble in this job market. All right, next thing. This is number 3. This is the third thing that the people in Davos, the rich, the ultra rich, the 1% were talking about. They were talking about sustainability. They were talking about the climate crisis and energy transition. Now, what they didn't say in this article is the fact that the Paris Accord has I think they did mention it, but I didn't highlight it. The Paris Accord wants all companies to be carbon neutral by, I think it's 2050, if I remember the year right. But in this article, they are concerned with how to do that. So let's keep reading. According to Abby Klinecki, the Chief Marketing and Client Services Officer at the management consultant Kearney, many companies are still looking for a place to start. We get the what and the why, she said, describing conversations with clients around sustainability, but give us a practical guide for how to do this. So the technology is still being developed for this. This is still wide open, ladies. Still wide open. So the final thing is, again, this is what the ultra rich were talking about in Davos. They were talking about wanting you back in the office. They want you back. Why do they want you back in the office? Part of the reason is to keep eye on you. Part of the reason is because they feel like when there are projects where people should get together, then it's easier to do that in an office. But here's something else they said. Real estate leaders, meanwhile, noted that many office buildings would become obsolete. Some could be transformed into residential dwellings, but others may need to be torn down. So we have to repurpose those buildings in some form or fashion, or they will be empty and will be taken down at some point. There, in Yahoo Finance, there are people who are, there's a company that basically monitors data badges and badges of employees going in and out. And they were saying that according to their readings, there's only like 50% of the offices being used right now. Hey, Becoming Bossy, good to see you. They're 50%. So they're going to have to repurpose some of these buildings. I hope they repurpose them into affordable housing. We'll see. We talked about the affordable housing crisis on this channel, and we'll continue to do so. There is definitely a need for more landlords to take Section 8. So we'll see what happens with regards to this. But the rich, we're talking about their real estate. So let's talk about what do the wealthy invest in then? Because we started off this conversation talking about the richest 1% amassed 67% of the wealth in the past 2 years. So, part of the reason that they get so much money and the rich get richer is because they can invest a disproportionate amount of their income into investments. And they can put their money into investments that bring a higher yield than what you and I normally would get. Now, I'm going to tell you now that some of these investments that they're in, we can get in as well. We have to do it a little bit differently, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that tonight. So, you definitely want to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk a little bit more about how the wealthy invest. And this article is just from a couple of months ago. So it says here, a month ago, Bank of America released their 2022 private bank study of wealthy Americans, which attempted to answer some of these questions. Their study, which took place from May to June 2022, asked 1,052 households with more than $3 million in investable assets how they invest and how they felt about each asset class. Among their key findings were younger, wealthy households, those aged 21 to 42, were more skeptical of traditional investments and more likely to support sustainable investing, ESG, than older, wealthy households, those 48 and up. In particular, older households allocated on average 55% of their portfolios to stock and index funds, while younger households only allocated 25%. Older households allocated only 2% of their portfolio to crypto, while younger households allocated 15%. Lastly, there was a difference in opinion about which investments offered the greatest growth potential going forward. Younger households believed that crypto, real estate, and private equity offered the best growth opportunity. Older households believed it was stocks, real estate, and emerging market stocks. So let's stop here. There's a clear divide between what younger people are investing in and what older households are investing in. With regards to cryptocurrency, a lot of the younger people that I've spoken with that I know are doing well with crypto are only investing in or primarily investing in Bitcoin and in Ethereum. They are not investing a lot of their money in these altcoins. They're not. Um, that is not financial advice. You want to speak with your financial advisor, do your own research, et cetera, et cetera. But I've been involved with crypto. I've been involved with the blockchain. The blockchain is the underlying technology for cryptocurrency. The blockchain as a technology is bigger than crypto. If you all really want to know about blockchain, take a look at tokenization of assets, because I think that that is going to be the much, much bigger use case for blockchain. But keeping it moving. Um, Cryptocurrency, we talked about that. Stocks, people are still putting their money into the public equities. However, people also, especially younger people, like getting into the private markets. They want to get into the startups. It makes sense because younger people, we typically know, hey, AI is coming and we want to get involved in this, or certain parts of robotics or blockchain or the metaverse or things like that. So we see these opportunities. We're at networking events. We get an opportunity to invest. And if you are an accredited investor, which is one of my goals, and I suggest that all of us work towards becoming accredited investors, we get access to a lot of opportunities that we wouldn't normally get access to as regular people. So these are the things that they're investing in. Let's continue with the article here. It says here, How unique these younger wealthy households are. Some of them started with more initial wealth, i.e., inheritances or parental support, than most, while others had atypical financial success. Either a company went public or was acquired. So, this is somebody who started a startup. They, built it up and it was sold for 10 million, 50 million, $100 million. So, y'all know one of my favorite podcasts is My First Million. It's on YouTube as well. Those two guys that had that podcast, they both did the same thing. They both started companies, they grew them, and they sold them for 5 million, $10 million. And then they took that money. And one of the guys specifically said he took that money and he put it into the stock market and he just rides the stock market. Another guy puts it into some of it into Airbnbs and other types of real estate. So, Becoming Bossy is saying, I don't think I'm touching crypto or Bitcoin. It's just beyond my risk tolerance. And look, that's perfectly fine as well. I get it. I bought a long time ago. I'm holding, and that's it. The other thing that there, I think this article talked about this as well with crypto is for example, I knew a guy who bought Bitcoin when it was like $30 a coin, you know. Now he said that he was like giving it away as well and selling it for not pizzas but stuff like that. So he's telling me that he had wished he'd held on to more of it. And then a lot of people early on that were buying Bitcoins again for $30, $100, $300. A lot of them lost their crypto too. So, yeah, girl, look, people are crying. Yeah, so crypto it's not for somebody who's queasy, right? But there are other ways beyond crypto to make money as well. Um, so younger people, they either start these tech companies or other types of companies and then they get acquired, and that's how they get their big paydays, or they bought into a new technology early or crypto early or something like that. So I thought that that was pretty interesting too, so that you could see how people are making their money. I think the older generations make their money from either owning businesses or from working really good jobs for many years and just saving up. And then, of course, there are some people that just inherit their money as well. So, uh, the final thing is more assets equals more alternatives. So, what they're talking about here is different types of alternative investments that people are getting into. So, to understand why there's been a shift towards alternatives among the wealthiest investors, consider the alternative investment continuum put forth by Bob and Ben Frazier on the Invest Like a Billionaire podcast. Their framework suggests that as an investor's assets increase, they tend to allocate more to alternative investments. So, they're talking here about what the different types of alternative investments are. So, level one is stocks and bonds. Do you know that, oh gosh, I want to say it's 48% of Black Americans don't even own stocks? I think I'm right. 48% don't even own stocks. And I'm not um, talking badly about anybody that doesn't own stocks, but it is like a way for you to get in the game is to own stocks, own bonds. You can own I bonds. You could own REITs, for example. REITs or real estate investment trusts. That's a type of stock. You can own dividend stocks, things like that. Then level 1.5 is a DIY real estate investor. So that's the next level up. Do you have a couple of rentals? Do you participate in tax liens? Things like that. Level two is passive real estate investing. So again, I think they're talking a little bit more maybe about REITs and things like that. We'll go further down and see exactly what they're talking about with regards to level two. Level three is private equity and venture capital. For private equity, you and I actually can participate in private equity. It's called equity crowdfunding. It was signed into law by President Obama in 2016. It's the Jobs Act of 2016, and it allows everyday people like you and I to buy shares in these private companies. So imagine if you had bought Facebook when it was super young, you had bought shares in Facebook, and those shares were $5 a piece, $7 a piece. And now the shares of Facebook, I don't know what the shares in Facebook are today, but let's say it's a couple $100. This is how the rich get richer because they get access to these types of deals. And equity crowdfunding is one way that you're able to level the playing field. Another way you're able to get into private equity is having a strong network of people in the startup world, and you're able to get in and you're able to get shares in these companies as they're starting up, as they're growing, etc. So becoming bossy is saying yikes. She's saying yes, we absolutely need to diversify our investments. Yeah, so and we can even do it as smaller investors as well, but that's part of the reason why I'm always talking to you ladies about increasing your income. And then level 4 is hedge funds, which we'll talk a little bit about as well. So the passive real estate, I just wanted to see, I didn't mark that down exactly what they meant by that. Yeah, we don't have it here, but probably listening to a lot of Robert Kiyosaki for the passive real estate. So I really like this process here. I did want to say something about private equity and hedge funds. So I did some research here, and this is something from institutional investors is saying hedge funds may be falling out of favor again. So this is from March 2022. And people have been investing a lot in hedge funds for many, many years, but I wanted to know what the returns were on hedge funds. And this is saying that the performance of the average hedge fund has declined from its peak of 18.9% in 2022 to 13.7% in 2021. Here's the deal, ladies. The stock market on average produces 8% per year. So if I'm in a hedge fund that's giving me anywhere from 13% to 18% per year, I'm doing pretty well. My current business, the one that, I'm growing, building and growing, my job is in private lending. These private lenders get 10 to 14% on their money, 10 to 14% with backed by real estate. So they are looking for extraordinary returns, and that's why they're getting into these things. Private equity. This is private equity performance from 2000 to 2021. This is an article here. And basically, I just want to show you this sentence right here because it sums it up. There was a study that said that private equity produced a significant 4.1% annualized excess return over public equity. We test for the I can't say that, of excess return over time and find no evidence of private equity and public stock return convergence. So, in other words, again, people are looking for like larger returns, and they're able to get that through other types of alternative investments. They move their way up the continuum. They start with stocks and bonds, they move to being a real estate investor, then to passive real estate. Passive real estate could also be like commercial real estate and things like that. Then moving up to private equity and hedge funds, and we can do the same thing too. So I just want to show you that. The final article that I have for you tonight is here's how the ultra wealthy are investing going into 2022. And ladies, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the chat in case anybody wants to come up. Just do this really quickly. In case anybody wants to come up, you are able to do so while we're going through um, the final discussion here. Again, everybody, thumbs up the video as you are coming in. This is from CNBC. Here's how the ultra wealthy. Oh, I'm sorry, two articles. Here's how the ultra wealthy are investing going into 2022. And I think I just wanted to show you one. Oh, I want to show you 4 things on here. The first is they're building inflation-resistant portfolios. So they're buying things like real estate, which includes industrial properties and apartment buildings. So a lot of them are doing things like syndication, and that's a little bit more passive investment. Like you're able to um, put 25,000 down, 50,000 down, 100,000 down, and join these syndications and get into commercial properties and things like that, large apartment buildings. It's kind of what Grant Cardone was doing, even though he was eating a lot of the profits, blah, blah, blah. But if you get your money up, ladies, you're able to get into these things as well. They're also investing in stocks on public platforms, in platform companies with pricing power, and they were also investing in crypto as well. They were also putting their money into real estate investments and REITs, doubling down on their crypto investments. Those are probably younger people, increasing investments with alternative energy. So we've kind of gone through that with the other article. This is the article I wanted to show you. 6 investing mistakes the ultra wealthy do not make. So let's see the things that they're not doing because this is important as well. So, ultra high net worth individuals often understand the importance of savings, the basics of investing, and how to take calculated risk. Concentrating portfolios with investments only from the US and the EU is an example of an approach that overlooks potential opportunities elsewhere, such as emerging markets. So basically, let's take a step back. Um, Number one is they actually have a savings plan. And maybe yeah, actually, I highlighted all this stuff down here. So let me tell you what they're doing, what they're not doing. Number one, they're not only investing in the US and the EU. And I apologize, everybody, for jumping around with this. Hey, Abundance, good to see you. If anybody wants to drop in on StreamYard, you can to ask a question. We could talk about any of the things that the rich are doing or are not doing. Number one thing they're not doing is they're not only investing in the US and the EU, they are actually focusing on emerging markets as well. Funny story is when my very first job, my very first full-time job, I actually worked with a woman who had a stock portfolio in Eastern Europe that she managed for very wealthy investors. So the whole idea is if you invest, for example, in Africa, um, then you would get it's higher risk, but you would get higher returns as well. I don't necessarily suggest you do that right now unless there's people in emerging markets or you have enough money to deal with the volatility in emerging markets, but this is just something that they're not doing. Number 2 is investing only in intangible assets. So a lot of times people think about stocks and bonds and things like that, but the rich are investing in private and commercial real estate, which we talked about before, land. This is why the rich are buying up all the land, gold, and even artwork. So they are expanding their assets into a lot of different illiquid assets that can grow and appreciate over time. Number 3, they are not allocating 100% of their investments into the public markets. They are actually diversifying. So the public markets is like the stock market. So they're not putting all their money in the stocks. They have real estate. They have different types of real estate. Some of the real estate is going to appreciate. Some of the real estate they're buying just for cash flow purposes. They'll invest in other types of um, startup companies and private equity and hedge funds and things like that. Some of the things that they're investing in is again for cash flow, some is for appreciation, some things are just to preserve the capital and hedge against the downturn of the economy. Next thing is, I love this one, keeping up with the Joneses. Ladies, especially in Black America. How many of us keep up with the Joneses? But what they're talking about here for the ultra wealthy is they establish personal investment goals and long term investment strategies before making investment decisions. So, one of the things that happened with crypto is people would talk about these coins, for example, and Black people were over indexed in investing in crypto. We were following the Joneses, and we weren't buying like the solid stable coins, or stabler coins, I should say. We were running to these little penny coins and things like that. And I remembered being in chat rooms with people and on Zooms with people saying, I don't think that's such a good idea. So, you know, the ultra wealthy basically figure out what they need to do themselves for their own investment goals. And if you want to invest in crypto, great. If you want to invest in commercial real estate in Idaho, great. But this is my thing that I'm doing over here. And I'm not going to be swayed by you because you're investing in this latest thing. And I like that. I like that part of this article. Number five, what they're not doing is failing to rebalance a personal portfolio. And abundance, I see your question. I'm going to answer it in a minute. So, um, they are actually rebalancing their personal portfolio. This is where we look at our money every month, every 2 weeks, every couple of months, and we say, do we have too much money in one specific stock? Do we have too much money in the stock market? Should we put more money into savings? Do we need to have more money that we're saving in order to buy a house or things like that? Always thinking about and being in front of our money and rebalancing our portfolio is something that they are doing. And I think is smart for us to think about that as well. And the final thing is they are not omitting a saving strategy from a financial plan. What I like about this is we all need cash at some point. We all need cash. We all need access to cash at some point. And they are thinking about their saving strategy. They're thinking about how can I have some money in cash somewhere. They're focusing on increasing their cash inflow as well as reducing their cash outflow, thus increasing their overall wealth. So, how do I get more assets that are cash producing on a monthly basis? And we could do the same thing as well, ladies. We can definitely do the same thing as well. So I am going to answer Abundance's question, and it's 42 minutes. I do want to show you one more article. I got to pull it up really quickly. But Abundance is asking, what is the best way to vet these networks? That's a great question. So the first thing I would say um, is to join the networks, like whatever the membership fee is, if there's anything, and to take a year and to just watch. Watch what people are doing, watch what people are saying, see if people are disgruntled, things like that. Talk to people in the networks. Ask a lot of questions with regards to what made you join. How long have you been here? Are you happy? Um, did you decide to take an officer role? Why did you decide to take an officer role? Things like that. Really getting a good feel for um, who they are and if they have integrity as people. And then their results as well. Asking them about their results. What's the average in the industry? What's been your average over the past 5 years? What's been your average over the past 10 years? Why do you think that is? Is it just because you have better data? Is it because you have a diversified group of people that are looking at investments and making decisions? Things like that. But I think the biggest thing, and I'll be honest with you, so I'm a fan of Erica Williams, and, one a few years ago, she started talking about the trucks, and usually I'm the type of person that if something new is happening, I'll sit back and I'll watch for a while, but I actually jumped into the trucks because we were all talking about, "Hey, you can get a truck and you can have, somebody drive it and you can make passive income, blah, blah, blah," and I had some money at the time. I wish I had stepped back and watched what was happening because one by one, everybody who had gotten into trucks got out of it because we weren't told the whole story. And I don't think you get the whole story immediately. I'm being very honest with you here. I think you get the whole story when you take a step back and you just observe. So I'll never ever get into a new type of um, investment again without watching it for at least a year and monitoring it and seeing if people are staying in or getting out. I also know a lot of people who went and invested in Detroit. Now, I knew better than that, to be honest with you. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in investing in Detroit because we didn't invested in Baltimore and it was a big mess. And now what's happening? We're seeing people wind out of investing in Detroit. I know people who invested in Section 8. Now I'm seeing those people wind actually 2 or 3 years ago, they started winding out of Section 8. So in answer to you, abundance, I think it's really looking at people when you find a new type of investment that you can get in to, finding a few people or going into a network, being a member of it, pay your, $300 dues or whatever it is, and just sit and watch. Watch people come in, watch people go out, watch the people who are in for long periods of time, what they're doing. Or is it people coming in, going out, coming in, going out, and it's a revolving door? I think that'll tell you a lot. Becoming bossy, saying that's smart. Yeah, learn the hard way. I learned the hard way. So I got one more story that I want to share with you. And I forgot to highlight it, so we're going to have this discussion and then I'll have one more article for you as well, and that'll be our hour. So, this is an article I've been wanting to share with everybody for a while. I just haven't had a chance to focus on it. So, this is all about super babies, tech titans, people who are super rich, they want to have more babies. I think this is interesting. This saying here, Malcolm and Simone Collins are pro-natalists, people who want to preserve civilization by having tons of genetically superior kids. Will their quest land them on the wrong side of history? So look, these are the super genetic people. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all can't see. Let me add this back to the screen. I'm so sorry. Let me show you the super baby saving the world. Malcolm and Simone Collins are pro-natalist people who want to preserve civilization by having tons of genetically superior kids. These are the genetically superior people, ladies. By becoming bossy, I had to show you the visual. This is who they are. Let's see what is going on with the rich, because this conversation today is all about the rich and what the rich are doing. So, they're sitting in their toy-filled family room on a sunny September afternoon. Simone and Malcolm Collins were forced to compete with the wails of two toddlers as they mapped out their plans for humankind. I don't think humanity is in a great situation right now, and I think if somebody doesn't fix the problem, we could be gone. Malcolm half shouted as he pushed his sniffling 18-month-old Torsten back and forth in a child-sized Tonka truck along with his 3-year-old brother Octavian and his newborn sister Titan Victivus, Torsten had unwittingly joined an audacious experiment. According to his parents' calculations, as long as each of their descendants can commit to having at least 8 children for just 11 generations, the Collins bloodline will eventually outnumber the current human population. So, becoming bossy is asking genetically superior or financially superior. Girl, they think they're both. They think they are both. They're saying here, if they succeed, Malcolm continues, we could set the future of our species. Malcolm, who is 36, and his wife Simone, 35, are pronatalists, part of a quiet but growing movement taking hold in wealthy tech and venture capitalist circles. People like the Collinses fear that falling birth rates in certain developed countries like the US and most of Europe will lead to the extinction of cultures, the breakdown of economies, and ultimately the collapse of civilization. It's a theory that Elon Musk has championed on his Twitter feed, that Ross Douthat had defended in the New York Times opinion pages, and that Joe Rogan and the billionaire venture capitalist Mark Andreessen bantered about on the Joe Rogan Experience. Y'all, this is serious. You see me, I see you. Hello, I haven't seen you in a minute. You're saying, okay, look, this is what the rich are doing, right? So we know how they're investing. They're going to pay for their kids with their private equity investments and things like that. And yeah, our great grandparents had 12 and 14 kids who don't know how they did it. Well, okay, let's talk about that because they lived in a different time. They lived when things were much cheaper. My great great grandparents had, my great grandmother was one of 12. She was number 11, but they owned, I don't know, acres of land in Louisiana. And it wasn't that expensive to have kids back then. These days, it's expensive to have a kid and to raise that kid in such a way that he or she can be competitive. But you've got these rich people that have the money to have a lot of kids and to make them competitive. And they're talking up here again, they're concerned about the extinction of cultures. I wonder if this was one of the conversations that happened in Davos. We talked about Davos earlier. This is what the rich are thinking about. Even the mental toll of handling all those kids, not even getting into finances. They probably have nannies. They're like Kim Kardashian. I had to join a tech boot camp. Good for you. We talked about tech yesterday. I love it. Congratulations on joining the tech boot camp. Let's continue reading this article here. So it's saying it's also alarmingly been used by some to justify white supremacy around the world, from the tiki torch carrying marchers of Charlottesville chanting, "You will not replace us," to the mass shooter in Christchurch, New Zealand. Blah, 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 blah. It's the birth rates, it's the birth rates, it's the birth rates. If it's the birth rates, then have kids. Like, nobody's stopping you from having children, right? Um, Google searches for population collapse spiked this summer after Musk continued to raise the issue in response to insiders' report that he'd fathered twins with one of his employees. According to the United Nations, more than a quarter of the world's countries now have pronatalist policies, including infertility treatments benefits and baby cash bonus incentives. I haven't seen any baby bonus cash incentive in the United States whatsoever. One of the big reasons that a lot of young women don't want to have children is because the cost is too damn high. We have to go to work. We don't have the money for it. We don't have the village. It's not like I could drop my child off at grandma's house and she'll take care of my child all day because grandma's working too. So, the rich are now figuring out how they can actually box in the population. So, um, They're saying here, meanwhile, a spate of new assisted reproductive technology startups are attracting big name investors such as Peter Thiel and Steve Jurvetson, fueling a global fertility services market that will project to be $78.2 billion by 2025. Hmm. Y'all, the link is in the chat if y'all want to come and talk about this. So, God bless is saying the saddest part if the pseudogenetic couple have a child with disability, that child is an outcast. Possibly, yeah, because they want genetically superior children. To be honest, they may be wealth, but they giving me Jordan Peele vibe. Oof, I definitely can understand that because nobody is calling Elon Musk that I have seen a baby daddy to 10 kids with however many different women. He, oh, he's rich, he can have all these kids, he can take care of them, he's taking care of them financially, but how many houses are these kids in? So let's keep reading here. It's saying here, I reached out to the Collinses after I received a tip about a company called Genomic Prediction, where OpenAI co founder Sam Altman was an early investor. So, Altman, who is gay, also invests in a company called Conception, the gay show. The gays want this big time, okay? The startup plans to grow viable human eggs out of stem cells could allow two biological males to reproduce. I hadn't read all of this article. We're gonna read this entire article, ladies. So pull your popcorn out and your wine or whatever it is you're drinking. Because I hadn't read this. I hadn't read the whole article. I just pulled it. These startups are going to grow viable human eggs out of stem cells and could allow two biological males to reproduce. We're hearing in the manosphere, in the Black manosphere specifically, that they're not going to need women anymore to reproduce. These billionaire investors are investing in these things. I wouldn't be surprised if this is 10 years off. I think it's a good thing. Let them create artificial wombs. The artificial wombs are already created. They're testing them out now. And it's not Ectolife, even though I've seen Ectolife and we can talk about that, but I've seen the ones that they have with the lambs. Artificial wombs are already created. My concern with something like this is if they're going to stop certain women from having kids so that they can create some sort of master race or something like that. But by that time, I'll be dead. So, I'll just have to deal with it. I think having a lot of kids is great. Altman recently told an audience at Greylock's Intelligent Future event, I want to do that now even more than I did when I was younger. Well, yeah, most people as they get older, they want to reproduce themselves. So, Genomic Prediction is one of the first companies to offer PGT P, a controversial new type of genetic testing that allows parents who are undergoing in vitro fertilization to select the best available embryos based on a variety of polygenic risk factors. The Collinses became the public face of the technology after being featured in a May Bloomberg article. The Pandora's box of embryo testing is officially open. After the piece went live, Malcolm said, they began hearing from wealthy pronatalists around the world. Whew. Y'all, the wealthy are in this thing. The wealthy want to make 20 versions of themselves and then have their children make 20 versions of themselves, etc. And they're getting to the point where they're not even going to have to carry these children. Abundance saying, thanks for the info. You're welcome. Kamibasi, isn't the world overpopulated? Nope, it's not overpopulated. That's why you have the Chinese concerned that for the first year in however many years, their population went down and not up. You have South Korea paying women to have children. You have other countries paying women to have children. They're not doing it in the United States, but I guarantee you, when I told you before, that's the reason why Roe v. Wade was overturned, and the Democrats could have done something about it, and they didn't. The Democrats are in on it too. They're yapping at the microphone, but yet and still, they're not doing anything about it, not doing anything about Roe at all. And I pretty much guarantee you, the next time that there is a Republican in the White House, the Republicans run the Senate and the Republicans run the House, abortion will be overturned in the United States. It's going to be federal law. I would put money on that. Abundance is saying, I can appreciate how, yeah, white people are strategic about reproduction. They certainly are. Not only are they reproducing, but they want to reproduce genetically superior children that have. I even heard someplace that they're going to select out like any people who are predisposed to diseases and things like that. This thing is about to be wild. Saying exactly. Yes, with useless eaters, that's no. Maybe that's just a narrative in the US. Uh, let's see what else they say. This is a long article. This is a good one. Um, we are the Underground Railroad of Gattaca babies and people who want to do genetic stuff with their kids. What kind of genetic stuff do you want to do with your kids? But okay. The Collinses invited me to stay at their home in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, before we'd even spoken on the phone. Following our first call, in which I disclosed that I was single but hoped to have children one day, Simone also emailed to invite me to join their matchmaking network for high achieving individuals. Oh my- this does not surprise me at all, y'all. If you're looking for a husband, but you're going to have to agree to have 11 kids, they have a matchmaking network for high achieving individuals. As you can probably tell, we're heavily invested in helping people with families as the headwinds against having kids are strong these days. Oh my, y'all, the link is in the chat if you want to come up, if you have something to say about this. Becoming Shalom, hello. What would make the world overpopulated? All this land I see, there is enough for everyone on this world and then some, but greed abounds and gives an illusion of overpopulation. Yeah. There's a housing crisis in the US. Billionaires are hoarding the land and making it so expensive to obtain. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's overpopulated. It just means, that look, the poor people are a come up. The poor people are a come up for the rich, which goes back to the initial conversation we were having about the fact that the richest 1% got amassed 67% of the wealth over the past 2 years. That's why we spent so much time talking about it. So let's finish reading here. Read some more here. This is a long article, but I don't care. I'm invested. While I didn't fill out the matchmaking form, which listed both 4+ and as many as possible as options for how many children I wanted, I did take them up on a visit to their 18th century farmhouse. Upon arrival, I was greeted at the gate by the professor, a brown corgi with a slightly manic air, followed by Malcolm, a cheerful and clean cut in a black polo. Inside, Simone, statuesque, even 1 month shy of her delivery date, wore her pregnancy uniform of a crisp white Oxford shirt, a long black skirt, Doc Martens, and red lipstick, ignoring she would later tell me her mother-in-law's plea not to, quote, dress like a pilgrim in front of the press. Their wardrobes, Simone told me later, are meticulously curated to project the kind of gravitas their work requires. Beneath their thick black rimmed glasses, hers round, his rectangular, the couple look, as they would put it, biologically young. All right. Yeah, that's the other thing that the rich are trying to do is they're trying to live forever as well. So, did you all hear about that super rich guy that's spending $2 million a year to revert his body back so that he's like 18 again? Oh boy. Yeah, but what quality of life would those people, new people live? Look, if you don't have money in the upcoming economy, it's going to be tough. So, all right. I'm invested in this article, so let's keep reading. Together, they write books and work in the VC and private equity world. Simone has previously served as managing director for Dialogue, the secretive retreat co founded by Theo. That's Peter Thiel, that's a super rich guy. While they relate to the anti institutional wing of the Republican Party, they're worried of affiliating with what they call the crazy conservatives. Above all, they are focused on branding pronatalism as hip, socially acceptable, and welcoming, especially to certain people. Last year, they co founded nonprofit initiative pronatalist.org. An obsession with producing heirs is hardly a new phenomenon. Elites have used lineage to consolidate money and power for most of human history. But as couples in the developed world are increasingly putting off parenthood until later in life or abandoning it altogether, people like the Collinses are looking for hacks to make large families feasible in the modern secular society. Have you all do how many of you keep up with conservative politics? There's a guy named Matt Walsh on YouTube that really pushes manhood and pushes women getting married earlier. There's this huge conservative movement trying to convince women to get married earlier. Um, on the white side of it, I don't see them telling us to abandon our education like the black side does. But I do see where they're like, no, 23, 24, 25 years old, you need to get married and you need to start having children. There's a huge push on the conservative side with regards to that. Um, Now, Sir 30 is not the new 20. Yeah, that guy looks really strange to me. Legally will be overturned, and unfortunately, people will take matters. Look, the rich people will take matters to their own hands. The poor people gonna have them babies, or they are coached to find their husbands in college and grad school. But here's the thing, a lot of young ladies, even across cultures, are not getting married in college and grad school anymore. The marriage rates are down. The marriage rates for young people are down. There is this fire alarm, number one, for young men not working, not being in the not having sex, not being in the marketplace, not working. And there's this fire alarm in at least white America for white women to get your college education and get married like as you're crossing the stage. Because the numbers are not bearing out like that becoming bossy. Um, let's see here. Did I read this? Okay. They're saying here, but as couples in the developed world are increasingly putting off parenthood until later in life or abandoning it altogether, people like the Collinses are looking for hacks to make large families feasible in a modern secular society because they're not feasible anymore. They both said that they were warned by friends not to talk to me. After all, a political minefield awaits anyone who wanders into this space. The last major figure to be associated with pronatalism was Jeffrey Epstein, who schemed to impregnate 20 women at a time in his New Mexico ranch. Genetic screening and the underlying assumption that some humans are born better than others often invites comparisons to Nazi eugenic experiments. And then there's the fact that our primary culture reference point for pronatalist society is the brutally misogynist world of The Handmaid's Tale. The Collinses, who called themselves ruthless pragmatists, consider the inevitable backlash a small price to pay. They said, we're frustrated with one of the inherent points of this culture is that people are super private within it. Simone said. They not only hope that their transparency will encourage other members of the upper class to have more children, they want to build a culture and economy around the high birth rate lifestyle. The payoff won't be immediate, Simone said, but she believes that if that small circle puts the right plans into place, their successors will, quote, become the dominant leading classes in the world. Y'all, God bless your device isn't connected. As soon as it connects, I'll let you on. Y'all, ladies, these people want they want to dominate. This article is so good. It's long, but I'm invested. I'm invested. The men are educated too. Yeah. Um, let's keep reading. The tech industry's biggest players have been preoccupied with their legacies for years. In the 2010s, the longevity craze swept Silicon Valley, and industry titans like Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin, Larry Ellison poured billions of dollars into biotech companies that thought could help them defy death. Jeffrey Epstein reached out to scientists about freezing his head and penis to be revitalized hundreds of years later, while Peter Thiel was said to have sought blood transfusions from the young. Y'all, they're doing the craziest stuff. Hello, God bless.
Hello, hello. Thank you for on your panel. And this is
Yeah, you're a little muffled though, my dear.
I'm so sorry. Can you
Oh,
hear me
that's
now?
better. Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
Um,
I'm
this
sorry,
is
I can't help but laugh at this article.
yeah, because it's a little it's funny, but also a little disturbing. Um, I just want to say Steve Jobs, um, when he was in his last stages, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but when he was dying from cancer, and Steve Jobs pretty much went to every doctor that money can afford. Sometimes money, even throwing money at things, is not going to help. Is not going to change what's going to happen.
Hmm.
It is what it is. I think that sometimes, I even see in the medical field when, of course, money can't afford to use certain resources, things of that nature. Don't
Hmm.
Please don't get me wrong. But when that cancer metastasizes, there's certain things that doctors can't do.
It's
That's
true.
that's it. And it doesn't matter how many zeros that you have in your bank account.
And I think it should be that way too. I mean, we're really trying to mess with God with trying to defy death, live forever, you know, cryo freeze your head and your
Oh
penis
God. Yeah,
so that
yeah.
you can live on in perpetuity. This is I
It's
don't want to
sick
go
to
as
me.
far as saying demonic, but it is sick and it is
Yeah,
unnecessary too. The circle of life is just that. It's a circle. It means you
exactly.
come, you live, you die,
Exactly.
and hopefully you you leave things in a better way. But Jeffrey Epstein, like the last thing I want is him revitalized and his member. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
At least if they were saying it was Gandhi or somebody like that, but I wouldn't even want. Uh, uh, anyway, like, why does it have to be the decrepit that wants? No.
And you see that just like that couple who and now let me say this, I'm gonna push it a little even further.
Hmm.
Sometimes people kind of place like nice words and pretty words together with
Hmm.
it, but it's like white supremacy 2.0,
Hmm.
because what they're saying, and I'm just in my personal opinion, I want blue eyes, super babies,
Hmm.
and just come out and say it. It's because the couple you show, even you picture, they look like they supposed to be in a movie, walking around.
Yeah, let's see their faces again. This is
Yeah,
this is the thing.
yeah. She looks like she. I hate to say it. Yes. Okay. I'm going there. so that's just white supremacy 2.0. It doesn't sound nice to say, hey, I want to have blue eyes and white babies.
Mhm.
Because I promise you, that's what they're putting it down for people and what they want to come out of the
Yeah,
situation.
absolutely. They want super babies. Not only do they want blue eyes, they want super brains, super
Exactly.
smart. Because these 2 are not, like, physically built, but guess what? If they bring that to the Black community, what are they gonna want? They're gonna want physical, men
Hmm.
of a certain stature. Well, this is 2.0 of 1840
Yes.
in the breeding farms.
Yeah. And that's what they're that's the reason why they're pushing. I don't know, Sheree, you remember this story, this disturbing story. It was on Netflix, I'm sorry, where the doctor was impregnating the women
I
and they
heard
didn't
about it.
know.
I
And the
yeah.
reason it was based on he wanted to populate the world
Mhm,
with white babies.
mhm.
He had a sick, distorted, and that's the reason why. It wasn't because he would just want to help these women. It's because he wanted to populate the world with
Yeah.
white little boys and white little girls.
There's also a push for now, I've only seen it in one place, but I know that the word is getting out. Remember that Washington Post article that talked about Black women being unable to find Black sperm in the sperm bank?
I remember that.
Then the woman was featured on Roland Martin, one of the doctors at the at in Atlanta sperm bank was featured on Roland Martin as well. They
Hmm.
are targeting upwardly mobile Black women. Now, first of all, as much as I network with Black women, I never heard a Black woman say, I'm going to the sperm bank. Never. I don't, much less I'm going to the sperm bank and I'm upset that I can't get Black sperm, so I have to get this Indian man sperm. I've never heard that. But this is something that even seems to like they were trying to push it in the Black community. I don't think we fell for it, but
That's well. Let me say this too, Sheree. I've seen this coming up. I've seen. I know one occasion that it's this very educated uh, black woman, and she feels like she's of a certain age,
Mhm,
um, and she after she politely have the gentleman got tested, they did STD testing, things of that nature, and they did their own informal sperm insemination. And he
how they
doesn't
do
have
an
to.
informal sperm insemination?
Well, it's informal as that it wasn't anything romantic. They just the purpose
Oh,
of
they
it just
do when yeah, okay, got it.
you get what I'm saying? It wasn't that's why I say informal. It wasn't nothing romantic. The purpose of it wasn't for
Got it.
romance.
Yes, it was just for yeah.
The
Well,
act.
that's how gay people used to do it back in the day. 2 men would be like, "Hey, we wanna have baby." And now according to this article, the 2 men don't need the woman anymore. They can pull their genes together and have the baby without a woman. It's kind of weird.
Wow. Wow, things has changed.
Things have definitely changed. They definitely have, and I didn't realize that this article was as juicy as it was. I'm just like, it's a super long art. They did a deep dive on these people and on this movement that they're trying to start. I don't
Oh,
I the
it's a
only
cult.
way that
It's actually a cult there.
is what?
It's a cult. They actually there have been some studies, and I wish I can give this article,
Mhm.
but certain I hate to go back to this, white nationalism or white supremacy group, they are trying to think out the box. They're moving
Mhm.
away from, marching at nighttime with capes on
Mhm.
or things of that nature. It's actually getting more advanced,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
that's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you see me, I see you is saying, isn't poor eyesight a defect? It absolutely is. That's probably why they're genetically testing all their embryos and things like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they either get rid of anybody with poor eyesight or, you know, inject. They probably can change the genes now. I mean, the technology is so advanced. It's so advanced right now, it's crazy. Well, I'm gonna read just a little bit more of this. You can stay on if you want. I wanna read, just a little bit more of it because I'm like totally invested in this article. So it's saying here anti-aging research has had some success in targeting specific diseases, and Bezos's but as the Ellisons and the Bezoses of the world get older, the chance of radical life extension in their lifetime becomes more unlikely. So some are turning to the next best thing, their progeny. For people who believe deeply in the genetic heritability of traits, passing on what they see as their superior DNA can be the ultimate path to influence. The genomic prediction co-founder Stephen Su, so they've got Asian people in here, y'all, told me he knew many ultra high net worth, high birth rate parents. I bet he does. With everything these guys do, whether it's their investments or either their social lives, they're applying a very analytic, quantitative way of thinking, and that goes for reproduction too. They got ones and zeros in this thing. So y'all, this is the ranch here called the Zorro Ranch that Jeffrey Epstein was said to have made plans to impregnate up to 20 women at a time. And how many rounds of women, God bless, do you think he was going to have with this thing?
You know what? I can't imagine, but my question is, would they be of legal age?
Mm, I didn't even
Y-
think
y-
about that, but that,
s-
yeah.
Because see, a lot of times these, and I'm gonna be honest with these depraved, because these depraved people, and a lot of them are depraved. I'm just gonna be
Hmm.
honest, morally corrupt people. They want the women to be a certain age,
Hmm.
so they don't mind someone under 17 to impregnate. It is what it is. See, that's the underbelly of what these people are doing.
And it's
These
awful
women,
too.
these women not gonna be in their 20s or in their 30s. These gonna be girls,
Yeah.
14, 15 year olds.
Well, that to me seems like the only ones you can kind of coerce to do something like this is, a 35-year-old woman isn't going to be a part of a harem of 20 women.
Ms. Sherry, I respectfully disagree.
You
I've met
do?
some,
Okay.
I met some simple, I met some simple 35-year-olds. They
Oh
would sign up
gosh.
for it. They would sign up for it, ma'am. Yes, they would.
Oh my goodness. Well, look, then my opinion is you're going to have to figure out a way to pay for these harems of ultra big families. I just don't see it. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was rich, right? These guys are talking about are rich, but they're trying to trickle this thing down as well to the poor. They want in my opinion, they want the ultra rich to do this and they want the ultra poor to do this
And this is
as
where
well.
we cannot assimilate to every. This is when we can assimilate what other people do. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
because Jeffrey, who's morally corrupt, unfortunately can afford
Mhm.
14, 15 women to do this with.
Mhm.
Okay. Jerome,
He can't. He shouldn't, yeah.
Brad shouldn't do that, who's living in the mobile home.
Mhm.
Okay. You can't afford that.
Well, here's the thing. Just because you have Jeffrey Epstein's baby doesn't mean that Jeffrey Epstein is going to take care of you financially.
That's a good point.
A la Nick Cannon, I mean,
Ooh.
we heard about the one of the baby moms was tired. People said, "Why don't you get Nick to get you a nurse?" She said, "With what money?" So we think that these men out here, they are going to be able to take care of us because they seem rich. They're a basketball player, they're a businessman, things like that. I don't know. Um, I would not depend on that if he's got 20 women at a time in a compound. Unless he's a Mormon. Now, I will say, if he's an Orthodox Jew, if he's like Muslim from like the Middle East, or if he's a Mormon, then I would trust it because culturally, that's what they do.
And
But just
even
a
some of the
random
moment,
person,
but
go
even
ahead.
some of the moment women are having a hard time, Sheree. Even some of
Mm,
them are having a hard time. They're like, "Hey,
wow.
let me look at what's the nearest tech boot camp so I can make some money.
So I can get out of here.
I can get out of this situation. This is for the birds."
Oh
So
my goodness.
I'm telling you, it's cross every type of culture. What it is
Mhm,
that people have to come to realization because people still believe in the trickle down effect.
mhm,
My father who is wealthy, I'm gonna be wealthy. And
mhm,
then you realize that's not the case, and you're like, whoa, the women like,
mhm,
whoa, what's going on here?
mhm.
The trickle down effect does not always work. Most of the time it doesn't. Do you want to take that risk? Do you want to roll that dice? Do you want to be the 19th woman in the line? You're not
Hell
even eight or number nine.
no. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it at all. I think that that is a huge, huge risk. I always talk on this channel, don't get the $200,000 asshole either. But, if you're making 80 and he's making 100, and he's a good man and you two could come together and have two kids and live a good life and build some assets, that is the best way to go, you know.
Yeah,
So well,
I
let's
agree.
read a little bit more of this article here, and we may end up calling it a night because I'm getting kind of tired now. But I'm saving this article. I'm actually going to put the article in the chat. Review this really quickly. I'm going to throw it in the chat here for you, you ladies, in case you want to pull it up and read it. Because to me, this is fascinating. Just hearing what's happening on the other side. So, um, this is saying here in 2018, Brendan, his then wife, Nicole Shanahan, who faced fertility troubles of their own, founded the Bucks Institute Center for Female Reproductive Longevity. Theo, who has at least one child with his partner, has invested in the egg freezing startup TMRW and a new period tracking app called Oh, y'all, they got big data involved in this as well. First of all, Peter Thiel is gay. So if you don't know, Peter Thiel is gay, but he's got a period tracking app called 28, which has stirred controversy over its affiliation with an anti abortion publication. I'm not surprised. Ellison, meanwhile, who has two children in their 30s, has reportedly resumed having kids with his 31-year-old girlfriend. So, not wife, but girlfriend. They got baby mamas around here. God bless, they got baby mamas.
They're rolling that dice. They're roll. You're gonna lose on the dice. You're gonna lose on the dice.
If we had swapped out white people, white rich people for poor Pookie and Ray Ray, this article would be all over Black YouTube. This is a shame. All right, I'm gonna read two more paragraphs. All right, so this is saying here, while pronatalism is often associated with religious extremism, the version now trending in this community has more in common with dystopian sci fi. The colonists who identify as secular Calvinists, I don't even know what that is, are particularly drawn to the tenet of predestination, which suggests that certain people are chosen to be superior on earth and that free will is an illusion. Y'all, the free will is an illusion. I was listening to I think it was Themis last night, and the guy he was interviewing was saying he doesn't believe in free will either. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Go ahead. God bless you. Wanted to say something.
No, I'm just amazed. and discussed it.
You called it. You said this was a cult. When you first said that, I'm like, I don't know. It looks like you're right. This is something else here. Um, they believe pronatalism is a natural extension of the philosophical movement sweeping tech hubs like the Silicon Hills of Austin, Texas. This is what disturbs me is that these people are becoming tech billionaires and then they're funneling money into stuff like this. And there is going to be a huge media campaign. The right, the conservatives are really like gearing up their billionaires to start infiltrating grade school, middle school, elementary school. They're abandoning the colleges, but they're trying to get into the elementary schools, y'all. Um, Our conversations frequently return to transhumanism, which is efforts to merge human and machine capabilities to create super beings. Long termism, a philosophy that argues the true cost of human extinction wouldn't be the death of billions today, but the preemptive loss of trillions or more unborn future people. And effective altruism, a philanthropic system currently focused on preventing artificial intelligence from wiping out the human population. We can agree with the last thing, but all right. What these movements all have in common is the fixation on the future. And as that future starts to look more and more apocalyptic to some of the world's wealthiest people, the idea of pronatalism starts to look more heroic. It's a proposition uniquely suited to Silicon Valley's brand of hubris. If humanity is on the brink and they alone can save us, then they owe it to society to replicate themselves as many times as possible. I'm getting kind of tired, so we're going to end with that paragraph. I should have done this as a whole stream by itself. My goodness. Uh, to me, again, this is fascinating. This is showing a lot of the direction that I think we need to be aware of. Um, I had said before in, I think it was the session I did with Mokomami, that I'm seeing for upwardly mobile Black women, I'm seeing a lot of advertisements now for us marrying outside of our race. I think that the higher ups believe we're not coupling enough and we're not having children. A lot of upwardly mobile Black women are not having children and they want us in the game. God bless.
Shirley,
What do you Go ahead.
can I ask that question? Because I'm just want clarification. When you say
Mhm.
higher up, is that the elite blacks or that
No,
elite? Who is it? The higher ups? If you don't mind me asking.
this is the Bezos and, the 1%,
Oh,
in
okay,
my opinion.
okay,
I
okay.
mean, these are the ones that are paying for the advertising, allowing the advertisings on, changing the algorithms, things like that. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm for Black women dating and finding the best man for the job. I just also I'm fascinated by this.
Well, I think it started. Let me say this. I think the reason why they're focusing on Black women because we are less likely to engage with someone outside of our race.
Mhm,
So I guess that's why we're the target for right now, the target population.
mhm,
And of course, they put women, put individuals that look like us that say, "Go ahead and do it." The minute divest, that your FICO score go up, your skin will clear up, you have no
mhm,
more poverty, you dance in the wind, and so I think that's what they're selling.
mhm. And
So
they are selling it, and I mean, some of it is true. So everything that is sold is based in partial fact, right? The likelihood of. I just reading that article, and I wasn't expecting that article to go that deep. I had read like the first. paragraph or two, and I thought, "Oh, this is interesting," and I'd held on to it for the longest time, but that article sheds a lot of light with regards to the top 1%, and, I think that there's something unique that upwardly mobile Black women have that other groups of people don't have. They're on YouTube. I didn't do my own independent research on this, but there's a white guy who was talking about a certain enzyme or something like that that only Black women have. And he was taking blood from Black women and injecting it in himself.
What?
Yeah, Nyla did that as a piece of content. And she had the video, where he was talking about it and things like that. So they want us in the game for a certain reason.
Yeah, but we got to be very careful that we're not experimenting like, like
Mhm.
pigs,
Mhm.
like hamster rats.
Mhm.
That's disturbing
Yeah. Yeah.
because, you know, I hate to say it, it's like I hate to go back to this, but it's like they are trying to reinvent um post OB procedures that used to happen to Black women.
Mhm.
C-section without any anesthesia,
Mhm.
because we have that strong ability to handle pain.
Mhm.
We have to be careful when others are trying to label us as superheroes or super beings,
It's true.
because we'll be treated as such, and they don't see us as human beings, they see us something else.
Well, people are
That's
saying that still in medical books, there are medical books around the United States even that still says that our skin can handle more pain than other
it
women.
is. It's
And we're
actually
still being
it's
taught. Yeah.
there. I saw this medical book that came out. I forgot how long, how old was it, but it stated that we didn't have pain fibers, so we could have receptors to feel pain.
Mhm.
So just imagine that
And it's being taught. Yeah.
is being taught to others. That's
Mhm.
the reason why I think some of this I call pseudo junk, um medical belief that's getting ingrained into, oh, let me see how strong Black women are, and then let's focus on Black women because they have some type of super gene, is very dangerous.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. And we have to be vigilant. We have to be careful, you know. I think it's important for us to educate other Black women and to do it
Hmm.
offline as well as online,
Hmm.
because these platforms, I'm sure they've got a transcript of what I've said tonight. I didn't even come in thinking I was going to talk about this. I
Hmm.
just, like I said, I had that article, and because we were talking about the 1%, I had pulled it up. Um, but I didn't know it was down this rabbit hole. So, yeah, you're gonna have to be careful no matter what. Definitely. So,
Hmm.
other than that, though, I definitely encourage people to read the rest of the article because there is a saying that if you want to hide something from Black people, put it in a book. These days, I even think it's put in a long article because how many people would just read the top headline and nothing else? We
Hmm.
need to start reading these articles. We need to start reading the middle and the end of the article. Like, that's where, you know, the content is that we
And
really need to know.
Cherie, before I go, and thank you for allowing me on your panel.
Mhm,
Also, I have learned this. Read what when you have these data, and they have, this is the lab that's doing this, this is the organizations that's completing these studies. Look up these organizations.
mhm,
A lot of these organizations are funded by certain groups, and a lot of these groups are not in the best interest of our community.
mhm,
Just please, just do that. I have learned that. Just look at just look at these statistics when they say certain things, and put fancy words and a comma behind it, and you're like, that's all right. But look up what they say. Look up these organizations. It's something there.
I agree. I agree. And I mean, I took a statistics class in college, but that was 25 years ago. I'm embarrassed to say how old I am. Um, but I'm not embarrassed. But it's interesting coming back to YouTube and hearing people misquote
Hmm.
articles and misquote statistics and things like that. It's gotten me very conscious now of not just believing what I'm hearing, but going back to the source material and checking things out for myself. We
Hmm.
need to all do our own research. We need to learn how to do our own research. We need to teach our children how to do their own research as well and not just trust what they're hearing from people. Uh, this is a little off topic, but it'll make sense when I tell you the whole story. Erica was doing a live stream about something, and she had mentioned, and this was last week, she had mentioned about Gary V um, bringing on young college athletes under his agency in order to, he cleans them up, he helps them get $25,000 speaking engagements, but in exchange for that, he gets to keep their name, their social media, their image, and their likeness for in perpetuity, is what she said. And I'll put some comment in there like people are trading one bad contract for another. And a gentleman in Erica's comment section said, but Gary Vee is giving them $25,000 to speak at these different places. And I tagged him back and I said, but he's doing that in exchange for owning their name, their image, and their likeness and their social media in
Hmm.
perpetuity. And it just got me thinking, and I want to do a session on this. I want to find somebody to co-do it with because I want to parent on like we need to start teaching our kids how to read contracts and to know what verbiage means
Exactly.
because you're giving up something in perpetuity for life, your social media, your name, your image, your likeness. This is how our entertainers of the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s got screwed. And now we're going to let college athletes get screwed. And
18 year
nobody's
olds and
laughing about
19-year
this.
olds.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
18-year-olds and 19-year-olds.
Yes. Because nobody knows how to read I guarantee there was an article about LeBron James's wife, and LeBron
Hmm.
James, the Bronny James, is going into college or something like that, and some
Hmm.
coach called the wife a bitch or something like that because, she was saying that her son wasn't gonna do certain things, and why don't you keep her out of the way? And this is LeBron James's wife. This is like, one of the top athletes, and they were disrespecting her because they want to take advantage of the son, and she's not allowing it. And this is a woman with some quote unquote power. Imagine the woman who's trying to get her son out of the hood and now these college
Mm.
athletes can make money, and these people are waving a contract in front of her son saying, "Sign it, or we're not even gonna let you play for college."
But Cherie, you know why she had the ability, even though they call her the B word,
Mhm,
the reason why she had the ability to push back because she has options.
mhm.
When
They have
you are
options
in,
as a family.
yes, but when you're in a low income community, and
Mhm,
someone came to you and said, you can make this certain amount of money, just
mhm,
sell me your soul, your feet, your eyes, and that's it. And I promise I
mhm.
won't ask for anything else. You're going to sign it because you're not going to even read the contract. You wouldn't even care if somebody tell you, take 2 seconds and read it. No, you just hear about the zeros.
You heard about the $25,000 speaking fees
Ex-
and think you got something.
exactly. And they don't have any options. When you have options, somebody can call you a B and you call them a B back and then you close
Mhm,
the door.
mhm.
But when you don't have options, you can't. The person call you a B, and you say, "Okay, can you come into the house?" Because you don't have any options.
Yeah, which is why I want us to have nepo babies. If you're gonna have children, have nepo babies. And I did I don't know, about 10-minute video with regards to that a couple of weeks ago. It's important, it's important for us to give our children the ability to have options.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So with that, y'all, I hope you enjoyed tonight's conversation about the 1%. um, the Davos people and what they're talking about, what the wealthy people are investing in. I'm not a financial advisor, so definitely uh, take a look at it, what they're investing in, but run it by your financial advisor, do your own research, etc. And be careful of the 1% and how they're trying to influence us and our children with regards to media and what the algorithms are promoting and what they're suppressing. So, with that, Stephanie is here saying, I don't agree we have options as well. We have to go to an attorney to read the contract and have that attorney broker the contract. I don't suggest create babies. No man can duplicate a womb. Oh, Stephanie, I don't know if you heard the article that we had read earlier. They have a system now where their two men are going to be able to procreate. So there's an article that we read. I'll show it to you here, Stephanie, and I'm putting in the chat for you. Can super babies save the world? Stephanie, you have to read this. You have to read this. This is technology that they have going on now. So I'm going to put it in the chat for you, Stephanie, and anybody else. Give me a second here to get it in the chat here so you can read it. Oh, you're saying I know about those babies that will fail. I don't know, Stephanie. I don't know. I don't know about that. I think they are perfecting the technology. So it may not be alive today or kicking, doing its thing today, but I give it 10, 15 years. So, all right. Well, yeah, everybody definitely go pull that link for Business Insider. Look at the article. It's a long article. Read the whole thing, no, because there's a lot of juicy stuff in there with regards to the breeding that they want to do, breeding superior human beings, that will rule the world and all this other stuff. Um, with that, God bless again. Thank you so much for being with me on
No,
a
thank
Saturday
you.
night. And everybody, have a good evening. I'll be back tomorrow night to talk with you all as well about not being average. And it's going to be a Motivation Sunday. So thanks so much, ladies. Have a good evening.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.